Welcome to the Purdue Basketball Beats. I am Michael with Anish and Andy. What's up, guys?
We're,
How
we're
you doing?
excited. We're excited. We're gonna
We're
we're gonna take this.
excited.
We're gonna take this from like a 4 to a 12 right now.
Okay, all right. We'll hang out at a 12. We're excited because of the Pitt win or the Lehigh win. Which one has you amped?
I went to the pit game, so I'm kind of biased right here.
Of course.
But hey, good on Lehigh though.
Good on
Good
Lehigh.
on Lehigh. Lehigh was nice. Lehigh was very
And
nice.
that concludes our discussion of the Lehigh game.
That was good. Yeah.
Man, okay. So you were there, so you
Yes.
can pretend to talk about it, and know what you're talking about. Uh, what stuck out to you the most about that game
Wait.
besides
So
AJ?
on the court or what?
Wait, Anish, can you when you talk about the pit game, can you start every sentence with, as somebody that was there in the stadium,
Listen,
dot dot dot.
I was
Were
there.
you credentialed? Why were you not credentialed? What do you mean Pitt wouldn't give a credential to a Boiled Sports contributor?
because then Chris Foreman would have had to acknowledge our presence again, and I don't think that's happening.
No, not after our what we've done with the football team
Oh
this
yeah,
year.
I couldn't find him, but I wanted to periscope him periscoping.
That's so meta, man.
So meta.
He's awesome, by the way. He's incredible. What stood out was that the Pete, which I'd never seen a game in the Peterson Event Center, otherwise known as the Pete.
The
Um,
Oakland Zoo.
the Oakland Zoo is a oh, it doesn't feel like it should be as good of a home court advantage as it is, because it's super shiny and bright and new, and like the places that you feel like have a home court advantage are places like Cameron Indoor or Mackey Arena. It's like old tin arenas or like this 9,000 person incubator. Pitt's a little more like spread out. It kind of looks more modern, and it was three quarters full because it was like a Tuesday night game. Um, and it was still. I've been to like a couple like different arenas. It was louder than anything except Mackey, and Mackey is almost artificially loud. Uh, I mean, it was incredible, and the zoo is great, and it was awesome. And Pitt's a top. I mean, like I think you tweeted it, Michael. The Pitt is that win is going to be really good in March.
I think so. They've got two really great forwards, and the ACC is going to be good this year,
Yeah.
but they've got two really great forwards and a really good coach and a lot of experience. They're a team that could sneak into the top half of the ACC. I think they're mostly projected around 10th in the conference,
Hmm.
but they're a team that could make it to the tournament. And anytime you win somewhere where your opponent is what is it, 112-4 against non-conference opponents,
Yeah.
like that's I mean, the committee might not take that into consideration, but that's definitely something to hang your hat on.
Yeah, that's a real road win. I mean, like that's a road win to be like proud of outside of the Big Ten. I think that win is gonna, and they're definitely a tournament team. Like I don't think it's even close. I think Pitt will probably be like floating around where Purdue was last year, which is top, maybe a bit better than Purdue last year. So like top 40, like or around that 40 spot. Like if you look at Ken Palm ratings and things like that, but yeah,
And,
they did a great job at like towards the end.
and not to digress, we'll go back to Pitt real quick. But also, just speaking of Purdue opponents, Florida has won their last three games since they played Purdue, including the Richmond Spiders, which I will forever hate. But
Yeah,
But I love the mascot, like spiders.
I do. It is a cool and intimidating
Right.
mascot.
Everyone
But
hates spiders, right? And you
yeah.
don't see a ton of teams named Spider. So kudos to
but
Richmond for that.
I think our strength of schedule right now is completely underrated, and I think we have played two teams that might end up being ranked by the end of the year.
I
Um,
think, yeah.
sorry, Manish, you can go back to your experience.
No, yeah,
By the way,
I was there. Hey, did I mention I was in the stands? Okay,
I want
so
to go on a completely different direction for 1 second.
yeah.
We're doing this over video. You guys can't see this, but Andy is sitting there. He's got a beard and a baseball hat on, and it just occurred to me that he looks like John Shoup a little bit. Just a little bit.
Oh shit.
Okay, so this actually posts. We should do a better job of actually like pointing to the YouTube thing. So this actually posts and will be there. So please go to the YouTube thing. I can now like in the corner right there
There it
when
is.
it's just a
There it is.
little Andy.
There it is.
Oh my God, you're John Shoop, aren't you?
Oh, it looks right. He's
Oh
shaking
my
his head.
God. What I mean, like
What are your thoughts on your shitty offense?
I'm so sorry you lost your job. Um,
And that
You know, and I
your
think I
wife
have
is
an
dead.
equally a shitty beard as well. I mean, it looks like a high schooler trying to grow facial hair.
you don't have the crazy eyes. The crazy eyes is where John Shoop has you a little bit.
Anyway,
That's yes, no, that was absolutely worth the digression. Thank you very much for that. uh, what were we even talking about? Oh,
we're
Pitt.
talking about Pitt. Purdue is ranked 11th in the nation now. That's amazing.
Where Gary Parrish does his top 25 and 1. I think we're still 11, but that's just because nobody above us had lost yet.
Hmm.
Um, but I can look that up real quick. But do you think that this win vaults? Well, I guess we have one
Yeah.
more game this week, and Mike, you're a little worried about that one.
Yeah. I'll
But
make this 3 podcasts in a row that I mentioned that New Mexico. New Mexico is a team that can give Purdue trouble, I think. So that's not the same as Purdue losing to them, but they're a decent team. But I think Purdue going back to your point, I think Purdue is very properly rated at this point. I don't think they're I think they're right on the right radar. I'm
well,
just gonna mix all of my metaphors for the rest.
so right now, Purdue is right above Xavier, who has actually, much to my chagrin, because my brother is currently a student at Xavier. They have looked like one of the most impressive teams in the country. Trevon Blewett
Trayvon Blewett,
he is a
he's
player, man.
he's doing exactly what he did in high school, which is
Oh,
score points.
he would have been so good here. Anyway, um,
Yeah, how'd that go?
but right, so at 12 is Xavier, 11 is Purdue, 10 is Duke, and currently Duke is beating the pinstripe pants off of IU, and Brandon Ingram looks like a top 3 pick. So I think Duke is better than us. I think I'm fairly comfortable saying Duke is better than us right
I
now.
think each of the 10 teams ranked ahead of Purdue is better than Purdue right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think Maryland's better than Purdue.
Really?
I really don't
They're a
think
lot
Maryland's.
like IU. I feel like they're. I mean, they have they're very offense heavy team, but I was unimpressed.
I think Maryland's advantage comes from the fact that they have a guy that is, every time he steps out on the court, for the most part, the best player on the
Oh, yeah.
court.
No
And
doubt.
that sort of tips things in Maryland's favor, in my
Oh,
opinion.
for sure. And Melo Trimble could go off for. I mean, like he's that wild card, right? Like he could just absolutely explode. They've got depth and everything like that. And I understand Maryland's a very good team. We're talking about parsing top 10 teams here, which is awesome, by the way, that we can put Purdue like up in that thing. And the other thing is that I was thinking about this. Purdue, like this is probably going to be Purdue's best team for a while. Like even next year, if we bring back Vince, if we bring back Haas, if we bring back Swan again, we'll be really good. We add in Carson Edwards, but Ray Davis and AJ Hammonds are 2 huge losses, and we're probably not going to be quite as good. This year also doesn't have a real top tier. Like I'm not scared of Michigan State. Like I just saw them beat Louisville. That was a pretty impressive win, but I'm not really scared of them. I'm not scared of Maryland. Kentucky's talented, but again, they're not. They're almost number 1 by default right now. Michigan State probably has the best. Not probably, definitely has the best resume in the country, and I think that Purdue could hang with Michigan State pretty easily. I think Purdue could hang with North Carolina. Um, Kansas is a
Marcus
team.
Page, though.
Give me a healthy Ray Davis and we'll be fine.
Woo!
Give me a healthy Ray Davis and we'll be
I
fine.
love your confidence.
Kansas, I'm a little worried about. North
They're my
Carolina will be a
pick to
tough.
win it all.
Kansas, I mean, like now with Czech Diallo, like joining. Yeah, Kansas, North Carolina could give us fits, but
Dude,
I
I wouldn't
think
want to play Duke.
I wouldn't want to play Duke. I'm actually kind of scared of Duke, but that also might be just because I watched them be really good. Um, but again, this is a year where there's no real top tier. Like I don't think that there's a like last year there all year there was kind of a consensus top 5, top 6 teams that would be really hard to crack. This year I think it's really wide open, and that lends itself to a very characteristic Purdue collapse. But I don't know. I like this team.
And you know what?
So
I think that also to go with that. I mean, so we have the window from a schedule and a the climate perspective, but also Purdue's depth. I mean, I think we lack that
Yeah.
elite player. We don't have a world beater, but I mean, we will never have a team with the depth that will pretty much mitigate not having that player. Where we basically can, we have enough. Somebody will go off, and that's like a dynamic I've never seen a Purdue team have.
Usually,
it's certainly
usually when you
nice.
ask, usually when you ask about a team's third best player and you get 3 different answers, that's a bad thing. But in Purdue's case this year, I think it's a really good. I mean, like I think it's we have we have like 3 1B guys, and then we have a bunch of incredible role players who would be starting pretty much anywhere else.
It's very nice when Kendall Stevens can go, one for his last 54 or whatever it's up to, and Purdue can still win by 13 points.
So wait,
You can take
my
point shooting pointers from Hammonds.
Yeah. Oh no. We got a 3-point shooter. Yeah. AJ's gonna be he's better than Swanigan right now.
That's the
Uh,
only note that I have for this podcast is why not shoot more? We need at least 10 shots a game from behind the 3-point line.
he was perfect, so that's 30
I'm just
points
saying,
right
it's
there.
math. It's math. There's no way
30
around it.
points. Yeah, why would you'd be stupid not to.
So my biggest takeaway yesterday. So there were 2. One is that AJ's back. Like AJ is so good. Like he had a sluggish middle, like when Purdue kind of lagged. And his defense wasn't great, actually. He wasn't great contesting at the rim. He seemed kind of scared to draw fouls. But and this is very like last 6 months or last 3 months of last season into this year, when we needed him, like when we needed somebody, it was AJ that stepped up, and that was the biggest thing is that we needed Vince yesterday. I think from 10 minutes into the first half until like 5 minutes into the second, um, Purdue was fairly awful.
Yep.
Purdue the defense was really lackluster. Damn zone defense confused us again, which we will see nonstop. And we weren't able to get it, like we weren't playing any high-low. We weren't able to get it to Vince or to Swanigan at the elbow or anything like that. And it was really hard to get anything going, and that is where Purdue missed Ray Davis. And that's where I thought we would, like the game was under some kind of stress of losing. And for Purdue to come back without Davis, without that catalyst, without that on-court leader, honestly, without any of the perimeter players stepping up until Ryan Klein at the last, within the last 4 minutes of the game, it was, I mean, it was impressive to see. It was a very impressive win because Purdue wasn't playing that great and
Ryan
probably should have
Klein
lost.
won the game for Purdue in many ways. I mean, he had those 3 threes in short order in the second half. And, there's a big difference between a 2-point lead and a 5-point lead, and those threes really made a huge difference there. And I'll admit that I was wrong because I thought that redshirting him was a no-brainer, but he has, in my opinion, won a game for Purdue already. So
Yeah,
if he
and
can do that,
could be that game could be the difference between, let's say, a like dreaded 4 seed where you're kind of playing, you're playing in the middle. Like you don't want to be the 4 seed, whereas a 3 seed you could sneak into an Elite Eight, right? I
yeah,
mean, like if you're seeded pretty well as a 3, you could make an Elite Eight. Um,
the road just gets a lot easier.
yeah, I mean, and those kind of wins, it's so hard. This is why I don't like talking about the tournament, but wins like that are what takes you, or what kind of pushes you in the eyes of the selection committee, just to that next level. If you're borderline, you'll say, "Oh, they won at Pitt," and everybody knows Pitt's hard to win at, regardless of whether they're a number one seed or a borderline tournament team. So it's I yeah, I was wrong. Ryan Klein. And that was the thing. Matthias didn't have a great game defensively. He was getting chewed out by Painter on the sidelines. Um, Vince. I'm starting to come around on what you were saying on the last podcast, where he puts up these numbers and he has these moments of brilliance, and he's got six. He ends up with 6 assists, and it's beautiful and it's awesome, and he has this court vision. But with Ray Davis out, we need him
Yeah.
to just take control. And the guy that took control was PJ Thompson.
AJ Hammonds.
The perimeter guy who took control.
Perimeter guy was PJ, who came through with a big shot. He had 1 turnover, but other than that, he played solid defense. He had a couple whenever he's getting rebounds for you, things are going pretty well.
And he had those 2 steals at the end of the game to seal it. Again, we talked about him briefly earlier, and maybe this is a point of debate, because I think he's seen very differently among different populations of the Purdue thing. But Kendall Stevens was garbage offensively until he took a step back, stopped chucking a little bit. He was still chucking pretty much the whole game. But there was a timeout, like the under 16 timeout, or maybe the under 10, 12 timeout. He, I think, got chewed out by Painter or was being talked to by Ray Davis. And after that, there was almost an instant energy switch. He was fighting through screens harder than I've ever seen him fight. His passing, people think that he's not a high IQ player just because he shoots right away and he has that green light. His entry passing is what got AJ Hammonds going.
Yeah.
And between him and PJ, it kind of made up for what we lacked with Ray on the sidelines. I think Stevens had a very, very good game if you don't count his shooting. I thought he did really well to kind of spur Purdue without hogging the ball a little bit.
Well, he was 1 of 7 in the first half, and then only took and missed 2 3-point shots in the second half, and spent most of his time facilitating. He did a really good job, actually, with those entry passes, like you said, which is a big improvement from last year, where he would practically take out a notebook and then write down, "I'm going to pass the ball to AJ Hammonds," and then fold it up, and then would hand it and make 5 copies and hand it to the defense, and then let them read it.
Circle 1. Are you ready? Yes, no, or maybe.
So he had one really beautiful one from the behind the 3-point line over the defense and right into Hammonds' waiting hands for a dunk or something.
I think I jumped out of my seat and got a couple ugly looks during.
How dare you stand during games?
I know. I was yelling at the referees because they were bad at their jobs and they should feel bad for being bad at their jobs. And not just against, even though about 30 minutes was against Purdue's favor and the kind of final 10 was very much in Purdue's favor, they were bad. They were really bad. They, even the slightest hand check, just the slightest contact was an instant foul. But when one of Purdue's bigs had it, you could just hack them like it was Shaq in 2001, and they'd be fine. They'd just say play on. I was actually kind of surprised. Were you guys surprised that Haas only got 9 minutes?
No, because he got those 3 fouls in the first half and was playing pretty decent. And then AJ came in, and Hammonds, if he takes off, why replace him?
Yeah, but he was also making some mistakes. I think, did he have 2 turnovers in that time as well?
AJ? I think one of his turnovers was a BS offensive foul.
Haas or AJ?
Haas.
Oh, okay.
I think that you got to go with the hot hand, and I think Painter was probably waiting for this opportunity for AJ to earn the minutes and And I feel bad for Haas because I think he's been used to getting that time, but I don't think you can fault especially in a situation like this, going with the experience.
Watching him celebrate AJ's, when AJ took over, about 8 minutes left in the game when AJ started taking over, and every single possession was just going down to him, and he was converting it. Watching Haas celebrating on the sidelines was so awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
like, it's
I
I
don't know what's greater in magnitude, your love for Vince Edwards or your love for the bromance between Hammonds and
it's
Haas.
such an
It's
incredible
so close. I
bromance.
can't even tell. It goes
It's
back and
so good.
forth.
So AJ, by the way, AJ is a legitimate 7 feet. There is zero chance Haas is 7'2", because Haas is like a head taller than AJ. It's insane. Haas is so giant.
He's a big guy. He is. I mean,
So here's the question. So does this change anything? I mean, A, doesn't matter, which I think the answer is no, but is this the opportunity that we've been looking for Painter to give AJ the start?
I don't think so.
I'd like to. I'm AJ's biggest fan. I'd like to see another game. I'd like to see one more. I'd like if he starts against New Mexico. It almost seems like Painter's giving him the job. If he comes off the bench and does this again, and Haas gets under 12 minutes, he's taking the job. And then I would start to say, yeah, it's time. Like, let's showcase your blue chip, and and that also puts you in good graces of recruits, right? Because then he knows that Haas is probably coming back. So, Hammonds is leaving. He can show, it's just another recruiting dynamic saying, "Hey, I'm going to let you, like, if you take this seriously, if you work for the job, I'm going to help showcase you, and I can showcase you better than most schools across the country." But yes, I would like to see him. I'd like to see Haas start on Saturday, and nothing would make me happier than AJ just scoring 30.
I just love that dynamic because Haas just demands so much attention, and I'm not just saying from the teams, but the media, the commentators, the fans. I mean, it's this monster, and the greatest thing is he gets fouled, and we bring in a better player. Like
Yeah.
it's gotta be so emotionally draining for the opposition that we upgrade after Haas.
I mean, so that was a lot of it. So Pitt, the way Pitt came back into the game was when they switched into their zone, and their zone was just like, I mean, they were like Syracuse out there. Like, they were like perfect rotations, perfectly timed, great spacing, taking advantage of Purdue being confused, and what just ended up battering them down towards the end of the second or the middle of the second half was the fact that Purdue could just keep going inside, and they didn't have anybody to really stick with them, to stick with either big. And once some of their rotations inevitably just got a little slower, and Ryan Klein was able to shoot over the zone a little bit. That's when they switched into man. Actually, I believe, Matt, I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but right after Ryan Klein's first three was when they switched completely back into the man. And that is advantageous to Hammonds, because if you're going to
Oh,
play
that
Hammonds,
played right into their hands.
if you're going to play Hammonds 1-on-1 and Hammonds is hot and he's feeling it, that's it. That's game over. Um, it was fun. It was so great to see AJ. I wanted to see Ray play. I couldn't do that, but if not, I wanted to see a big game from either Vince, Biggie, or AJ, and it was so fun watching him down the stretch. Biggie, let's transition, is hitting the freshman wall, and hopefully he gets out of it early, because he's hitting it a little early. He was all over the glass yesterday, which was great. But he was a borderline offensive liability.
Yeah.
Um,
Especially
and
early. He took two very quick shots to start the game,
yeah,
and that's probably not really what you want. You could tell he was He was amped up. Got into it with a Pitt player from time to time.
I thought that he got away with something. I was a little nervous that they were going to
So
do it.
they were
Yeah.
they were so the Pitt guy was linking him up, but he was doing a good job. It was that kind of like borderline dirty play where you're kind of holding Swanigan's arm underneath so that it looks like Biggie's going. It's like the typical like post player trick, and it's fair. It's a complete. I think all post players should be taught that move because it just gets under the other guy's skin.
And
And
Brantley maybe needs to remind Swanigan that they never see the refs never see the first incident, but always see the retaliation.
they always see the second one, and that's the tech that they'll call. How many games does it have to be before you think about benching? Not benching, because it's not really a benching, but bringing Swanigan off the bench.
Never.
I don't think that that's even an option. I think
Okay.
because I think even if he's not producing on the offensive end, he still impacts the game. He still demands, attention. I think he's always, going to be, battling for the offensive rebound. Or I just,
His
He's
energy
such
was
a
still there.
beast on the glass. He is such he fights for every single rebound, and no one else on Purdue does that.
and
I
I thought he
mean,
played a much better defensive game as well.
he was better, and it was weird. Pitt wasn't going at him. He at times he seemed a little slow, but Pitt just wasn't shading that way, or Pitt just wasn't moving the ball in his direction. And I thought, honestly, offensively, Pitt didn't have it going at all, and I thought that attacking Biggie would have been the way to go, and they didn't do it. And he
They
just kind
settled
of
for
stood
a
his
lot of
own.
jumpers.
Sorry, say it again.
I'm sorry. They settled for a lot of jumpers.
I
Pitt
did.
did, especially early. And I don't know if they realized that Biggie could be, but they also got him in transition a couple times.
Yeah.
He played the most minutes out of everyone and grabbed, what was it, 8 or 9 rebounds, had a couple of assists, only one turnover. So he didn't really play, he didn't really score a lot, but he still had a massive impact.
And he hit a really, actually, the one shot, I think he only hit one shot and he had 2 free throws. The one shot he hit was like this semi Dirk like fadeaway, and
Yeah,
it was a big momentum bucket. I mean, like
he
it was a
really looked
big.
pretty on TV. Here's what I'll say. I think that he's hitting a bit of a freshman wall a little early. Like he's figuring out. I think you need to give him the time and space to figure out what he can do at the college level because I think that's what he's struggling with now. So let him figure it out against Pitt and New Mexico and Youngstown State or whoever else they play coming up. Let him figure that stuff out because Purdue doesn't need him to win now,
Hmm.
but they will later. So
Yeah.
I don't think you cut his minutes at all. Let the big fella eat.
He's he's still a lot of fun to watch on the offensive glass. He's a lot of fun when he's just allowed to.
He
Um,
gets after it,
I
right?
mean, yeah,
Every
and
time.
I that's infectious too because towards the end of the game when Hammonds was in a little bit of a malaise, and I wrote about this. Hammonds was in a little bit of a funk, like at the beginning of the second half, and he seemed to be just going through the motions a little bit.
No.
And then, well, and yeah, exactly. But the two times that the two things that kind of got him into it was that first drop step that he hit. It was like his first
Yeah.
bucket in about 10 minutes of play. Um, and when both him and Swanigan were fighting over a rebound,
Yeah.
and every rebound after that, it was like comically like he would like flail his legs out like that Oscar Robertson like poster.
And swing the elbow up.
Yeah, and I really do think that Biggie is, in fact, I think Biggie and Isaac are so, like, just the way they play is so infectious and
We,
such a good, like, influence on AJ.
do you know what's amazing to me though is he's only had more than 3 fouls one game, and that was yesterday if I'm correct. I think he had 4 yesterday. But for someone that's active and someone that
Hmm.
fights literally for every rebound, he's remained for obviously a freshman. He's done a pretty good job avoiding unnecessary fouls. Because I mean, he plays like a bull in a china shop, but he's got a little bit of savvy when it comes to at least avoiding foul trouble.
He does a very good job. So he creates a lot of contact on rebounds, and they refs a lot of times will let players get away with that stuff. But what he does is he's so good at getting in the right position and then creating contact from like an established position. Like he's not going over people's backs. He's not trying to like swim his way around a guy. You know what I mean? He's not hooking anybody to try
Yeah.
to get in the right place. Like he's just already there, and then he's active at that point, and they're not going to call that stuff. So that's a great point. Like for a freshman, he's doing a really good job. Now I think most of his fouls and stuff have been on defense when a guy tries to take him off the
Mhm.
dribble because he's still struggling to figure out what that looks. I
It,
feel like we're
yeah.
really grading him on such a curve, though.
Oh, we are. I mean, he's averaging 9 and 9. I
Yeah.
mean, like he's averaging 9 and 9 and almost 2 assists.
Like,
Like,
who was the last Purdue player to do that? Jawan Johnson?
no, I don't think JJ ever averaged 2 assists.
Well, I was thinking about even just the 9 and 9.
It must have been Jawan.
Maybe
I don't think Rob ever got that.
did he even get over 8 rebounds a game? Did Jawan Johnson?
I can look it up real quick, but I don't think Rob ever got
No.
close to the 9 rebounds a game.
No.
Let me see real quick. AJ. Jawan's senior year, he averaged 20 and 8.5.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, he never averaged, and he barely broke one assist per game.
Yeah.
Um,
Now he wasn't throwing a ball into an AJ Hammons the way Swanigan
it's
is.
yeah, I don't this team. Man, I don't. Again, we're so used to it, right? We're so used to tempering things. This team is special, dude. Like this team is. Like people were saying it's time to adjust expectations. Did people have low expectations for this team? I mean, like I
I
feel
don't
like
think people knew what to expect. I think that was the big thing. New point guard and a five-star big guy who to casual observer would seem redundant. I think it's fair to just not really know what this team was. Purdue has moved up in the rankings quite a bit so far early because not because they're beating like the North Carolinas of the world, but because a lot of the teams, because preseason rankings are kind of crap, and a lot of the teams ahead of them have lost. So, I mean, I think it's fair to say that expectations could be all over the board. So, but whatever they've been, I think they've been exceeded.
the other thing I wanted to ask you guys was more about the lineup. I mean, like we been through an undefeated March, or I mean, an undefeated March.
I
That'd be
wish.
nice. An undefeated November, and so we pretty much know. I think okay, it's a good argument that Swanigan has pretty much cemented his role in the starting lineup. I think Ray Davis, it very much a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Even though I think all of us were open to the option of him coming off the bench. I don't think anybody pushes him out of the starting lineup. What
If
about the other?
anything, the Pitt game sort of showed how valuable that is.
Yeah. One spot in the starting lineup will be reserved for the hot hand between AJ and Haas, and we've already kind of touched on that. Before we get to the point guard, is Vince safe? I think this is a similar question to Biggie, right?
I think absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, because we always talk about the depth. I think Vince might be the only player that's just from what he brings is pretty irreplaceable. I mean, if there's one person who I would not want to get hurt on this team right now, it would have to be Vince. Because his combination of vision, size, and just skill set, he kind of makes the offense run. He's the heartbeat.
I really think that he's the guy who you only really sub him out. I mean, he's just such a Swiss Army knife, right? Like, he can rebound, shoot, and pass. And although I'm disappointed with him in the sense that I would really have liked to have seen him take over long stretches of the game instead of, just sort of being like as steady as he is, which is a weird criticism, but um, I think the only spot that's really up for grabs is point guard based
Is
on
it?
the current lineup. And but
Is
even
it up
then,
for? Well, so
but
the
Johnny Hill, I think he's done some really good things, but I think he can do those really good things off the bench because PJ Thompson is playing better than anyone could have reasonably hoped him to play.
he's first of all, the prediction is that PJ's a captain next year. I mean, the captains of the team next year are going to be PJ Thompson and Vince Edwards. And I feel fairly confident in saying that.
Mm,
And Haas actually. I
I would say if they only take two, I think Haas gets it over him, or Haas gets it over Edwards. But you know what? Well, that's a year from now, so who knows?
but I
Maybe they'll all be in the pros.
after we inevitably win the whole damn thing.
Right, and
Um,
then win the Olympic gold medal. Just go for the whole thing. No one's ever done that before. It'd be
that's
crazy.
true. That's true. We'd be the first. For Edwards, yesterday the big thing was, or against Pitt, the big thing was, I thought Painter did a great job in the second half of staggering minutes between Swanigan and Vince, and then all of a sudden towards the end of the game, he put them both back in while AJ was going, and that's kind of that's the let's step on their throat lineup, especially with as well as PJ was playing, and then Klein. Oh yeah, Klein was the one that took Davis's spot because he was
Which
just hitting everything.
he was hitting everything, but on defense he really still struggles.
And
So he's just
I actually think those shots he took were bad shots, but he made them. I mean, like he made them. He was confident. He went to his spot quickly.
Painter
Um,
called him the best shooter he's ever been around.
that's
Not the best shooter he's ever coached. Not the best shooter on the team. The best shooter he in 30 years
I
of.
don't know. Etuan Moore might have something to say about that, but
See, but you know one thing
Etuan
about
Moore was a
Klein?
better scorer, but
yeah.
not a shooter.
One thing that excites me though is he does rise to the occasion. I mean, this is a nationally televised game, and he doesn't. He still comes up clutch. Do you remember the last time he was on ESPN? I don't know if you guys
Was
during the
that the
summer,
All American
Contest?
or the
last
McDonald's?
summer. No,
Yeah.
it was some
Oh,
championship
yeah.
event, and I think he put up 30 points in front of, it was on. I know it was televised.
Yeah, yeah.
But my point is though is he's not shy. He's not Ryan Smith. Would tend to. Well, I guess you'd have to shoot to yeah. His pump fake.
His little head fakes, yeah. He
I
didn't
love
he didn't get consistent until his senior year, right? I mean, he didn't ever shoot with confidence like this until he had 3 years under his belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it just makes me excited what Klein could be, and man, I love his shot. His form is just perfect.
Very
And the
little
thing
waste
is,
motion.
Purdue doesn't need him to be anything more than the guy that plays 10 to 12 minutes a game
And just wins
and
wins a game every now and then.
every once in a while just wins a game. But they're not like, oh, we got to figure out how this guy can win us every game. It's no, just playing for 10 to 12. If he's shooting well, he plays 12. If he's not, then that's cool.
I
We'll
like
play
that though.
Matthias instead.
I mean, they're all three are coexisting. I mean, I don't think we thought that was possible. I think we kind of looked at it as they were mutually exclusive, and somebody was gonna be the odd man out. But I mean, we are playing a pretty deep bench, and it seems to be pretty symbiotic.
So before
Nice
we
word. Nice word.
Well, we're with an MIT, former MIT teacher.
Stop it.
Up my game.
He's
So-
blushing.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
before we wrap this up, though, where has any expectation changed as far as when Purdue loses for the first time? How do they finish the non-conference? Let's not even talk about the conference either. Is
By
it
playing
is it
Vanderbilt.
Butler?
Vandy, I think.
Vandy's gonna be tough.
I think Vandy is going to be the one. I still think Vandy's going to be the loss.
At
even
home?
though it's at home. I mean, like that's the other thing is that we'll be by then, hopefully, in my universe, we'll still not have a loss, and we'll be in Mackey, and we'll probably be top 10, and it, I
What a
still think
perfect time. What a perfect time for that game, though. It's like the
yeah,
gatekeeper before conference season. It's a last gut check. I think
yeah,
I'm excited.
That's a
and
better end of the non-conference season than they had last year, right?
And looking at this, we looked at the Devil's Row that Purdue has to play at the end of the Big Ten season, but opening Big Ten, it
Yes.
Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, Illinois, Penn State, Rutgers, like
Wah, wah.
that is nothing. I mean, like those teams are not very good. The Big Ten is not as good head to toe as like anybody would have thought.
Although Wisconsin did just upset Syracuse.
Wisconsin also lost to a D7 school earlier in the year. I mean, the one thing in the Big Ten that I did not anticipate, I was extremely low on Denzel Valentine, and I was extremely wrong about that. He is quite good at the basketball.
And he continues to play very well. Yeah, he can play. He can play a little.
He had a guy Big Ten. Is the Big Ten gonna win the ACC Big Ten Challenge? Or
Um, Looks
I don't know.
like Iowa's in overtime.
We are in full
74 to
disclosure. Yeah, in full disclosure, we are recording this as the last couple games are played. We're just not idiots. But
Yeah, we're in overtime. Actually, yeah, it's an overtime right now to determine who wins or if it's a
okay,
tie.
I I feel like I don't care. Is it bad? I don't care.
Oh, but hey, so go back to Michigan State though. Tell me this: does Michigan State go with where Valentine goes? I mean, are they relying on him, or are they a deep team
The thing
outside?
about Michigan State is that they have some sneaky talent behind him that has been inconsistent, but that
Hmm.
they are actually, I think they're actually really good. Deontay Davis is averaging a double-double.
Has Aaron
Oh
Harris
no,
even
he is
had
not. Sorry, sorry. What?
has Aaron Harris even had a great game yet?
I don't think so.
I
But
mean, like, and he's due.
he's shooting really bad from the three-point line. So that's sort of tampered him down a little bit. But he's had only 2 games over 10 points.
Yeah, they're a surprise. I don't know. Like they're a surprisingly deep team, but I think a lot of this. I mean, like if this team goes far, this is one of Izzo's best coaching jobs, and you can say that friggin' every year. But this, I mean, like with the relative lack of top shelf talent, Michigan State is probably going to be a number one seed or number one overall in the next polls. Um, I mean, with just looking at this, that's impressive. And so, but again, like I said, I think they're good. I'm not afraid of them. I think Purdue's better. I think Purdue is um, in that top tier. I mean, like, so most people say that the top tier of the Big Ten, which actually might be the three only really good teams in the Big Ten, are Michigan State, Purdue, and Maryland. Uh,
That's fair. I think as much fun it is to watch IU sort of fall apart, they can get hot at any time
they can,
and get
yeah,
right
they're a
back into the
tournament.
conversation.
They're a dangerous tournament team. They are a very dangerous tournament
Because
team.
they can score hella points. It's going to be tough.
And when I was actually watching Michigan State, the thing I was afraid of is the fact that they have two like bigger wings, bigger dangerous offensively wings, and Purdue doesn't have two wing defenders anymore.
Right.
Um, Someone's got to step up there, and it's probably going to have to be Vince again, like the do it all guy who's going to be on the floor at all times. Because we know, hopefully, Ray comes back healthy, but we
It's
we
just an
need
MCL sprain. He'll be back soon.
we just need somebody else to step up defensively, and I don't know with the amount of minutes and the amount of responsibilities that Vince has, it might be unreasonable to expect that, but it would be pretty nice if all of a sudden he turned into a lockdown defender, wouldn't it?
That would be nice, but that's probably going to happen over the course of a couple seasons and not 3 days.
Overnight, yeah. So I think we got it. Next
We
week,
got, yeah.
next week we play 3 games in 4 days.
Yes.
3 games in 5 days. I'm sorry. So I mean, like, they're not great teams, but that's a rough one. New Mexico on Saturday, IUPUI on, I believe, Monday, and then next Wednesday, Howard.
Yep.
What you think we make it out 3-0?
I think there's a good
Sure,
chance that
hope
we
so.
go into that Butler game 10-0.
It'll
So
be cool. It'll be pretty
11-0.
cool.
But you know,
Uh,
you call New Mexico a trap game, but I don't really think any of those teams really could beat Purdue. But if we're overlooking New Mexico, we're definitely going to be overlooking, Youngstown State and IUPUI. And who's the 13?
Howard.
Howard.
Howard. Ugh.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it should be pretty good. I think going into Butler, it should be kind of interesting. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see. I think so. We'll probably wait until after those 3 games, so we'll have all of those to go over. Hopefully, there's no 0-3 collapse after this awesome win at Pitt, but we'll
No,
see.
So
that's
when do we start comparing this to the 2009-2010 season?
I did like 4 months ago, 5 months ago.
when we're on the verge of being ranked number 1 and our best player tears his ACL, then we can talk about it.
I think we're a deeper team, and it's not even close.
I think
Yeah,
it's a good
but our
conversation, but
our high-end talent is. Oh yeah. Well, that's
We'll
a
save that one.
teaser for the next episode of the Purdue basketball League.
That's right. That's right.
previously on.
Previously on, and you suck.
Well, thank you, and shout out to my man Chris. I didn't know who he was, but he was in this incredible Purdue sweater, like the ugly Christmas sweater, and he was sitting
Hit us
down the
up on
row.
Twitter, Chris.
Yeah, and he was like, "I watch you guys on YouTube and I listen to the podcast all the time," and I was like,
Oh,
"This
he
is the
watches
best."
this? People
Yeah.
watch this?
Yeah,
Wait, have
see?
you really been posting this on YouTube?
Yeah, for real,
I
for
had
real.
no idea.
See, we don't do a good
That's
job.
enough.
We're waiting until the time is right to actually, start whipping out some of the nice things. We
I
don't
might
want
have
to.
to gassing myself up a little bit.
Listen. We
Give the people what they
really
want.
have to focus on going viral, guys. Like, we really have to focus on our viral content. So
Yes, what we need is more SEO. We need more
that's right.
SEO, more lists. The top 10 things every sportsman needs.
But yeah, I think we've gone off the rails.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Subscribe to our iTunes. And please don't watch us on YouTube.
Send John
for the love
Shoup.
of God.
Send John Shoup your condolences.
Yeah,
One
please
brick
tweet
higher,
at
guys.
Marcia
One brick
Shoup.
higher. We're right there.
All right.
Right